We have seen the establishment's ugly, ugly, ugly face through this entire process. Obstructionists everywhere. People who will not put their country first. People who will put themselves and their own personal agendas first. Specifically, folks that have obstructed good men like Byron Donalds and Jim Jordan from becoming your next Speaker of the House. Well, I have somebody here who is going to be running against one of those establishment politicians, giving them potentially the Liz Cheney treatment. I am joined today by Trent Leisy, running for Congress in Colorado's 4th Congressional District against Ken Buck. Trent, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, and excited to have you. So thank you so much for coming on. We are excited to have you here to talk about what exactly spurred you into wanting to do this. Have you always wanted to run for Congress, or was this House Speaker stuff the final straw for you?
Well, look, Ken Buck's a rhino, and he's been a rhino for as long as I can remember him. I live in the same county, the same town as him. And, for me, what it was the January 6th feud that he had with Marjorie Taylor Greene on the fact that Ken Buck believes that the January 6th detainees, those in prison, should rot there. And so that really propelled me into this. I mean, I've always been intrigued with politics for years. But, just over that situation, I just really felt like it was a calling for me to jump in this race. And there's a lot of indications that Ken Buck will probably just bow out of this race after the first of the year because he's looking for a high-paid contract deal with CNN, because CNN is his constituency. That is who he speaks with and to.
So Ken Buck is a rhino, Republican in name only, as you say. So obviously that district is a red district. Do you have the breakdown of Colorado 4? What did it do in 2022?
Well, this is the most conservative district in Colorado, and so if you look at the political map, it's a plus 13. So it'll always go Republican, and so Ken Buck, I want to say, won this in 2016, which was his first term as a congressional rep, and ever since then, he's never liked Trump. Came out with an op-ed saying that the Republican Party was dead in 2017. He voted against the border wall funding. It's just been a litany of things after that he's done. So it's a very conservative district. And so whoever wins the primary will win the general election.
Has anybody in the past tried to primary Ken Buck? I mean, if it's a very conservative district, you would think there would be someone who would stand up and say, hey, what do you mean the Republican Party's dead after 2017? If anything, with Donald Trump being elected, it taught people how to fight. It taught people how to dig in. It taught people how to stand their ground and work for we the people. Has there been anybody else who's actually tried to get rid of him, or are you the first real contender?
I would say I'm the first real contender. I mean, at the last election cycle, 2022, I mean, there was a gentleman in the southern part of the district who did throw his name in the hat during the assembly process. In fact, almost booted Ken Buck off of the primary ballot just coming out of the assembly, because there's two ways to get on the ballot here in Colorado: either petition on the primary ballot or go through the caucus and assembly process. And Ken Buck really squeaked out of that assembly process. But, this guy didn't do much after that, didn't really campaign or anything. But I don't really felt like really took this seriously as I am with this run against Ken Buck. And so, you're right. I mean, you would think that, with the Trump administration and the bombasticness of President Trump, that, people would really stand up and say enough's enough. But it's so conservative that I really feel like people thought that, they just wouldn't have the backing, and that there wasn't enough. What Ken Buck wasn't doing, enough stuff that would really spark people to jump up and say, okay, enough's enough. And so what he's done in the past 3 months has really enraged people here in Congressional District 4. And so, and has enraged him. I mean, to the point where, Ken Buck has said, that he's gone from saying, I'm not going to support Trump because he could be a convicted felon, to the point now where he's saying Trump is a convicted felon. So look, this is a very America First district, and people here are fed up with Ken Buck's rhino attitude, and really catering to the CNN audience.
So Ken Buck has come out and has said that Donald Trump, despite not even having had a trial yet with any of these felony, he has come out and said that Donald Trump is already a convicted felon.
Yes, he did late last week. So a couple months ago, he was asked if he would support, and this is on CNN and MSNBC, if he would support President Trump if he was the nominee. He said, well, not if he's a convicted felon, I wouldn't, to last week saying, no, I'm not going to support him at all because he is a convicted felon. Now, keep in mind, this man is a disgraced federal prosecutor who was fired under the Bush administration for failing to prosecute gun crimes to, my former district attorney here in Weld County. So this guy should know all about due process, but he's throwing that out the window for the CNN constituency.
Yeah, it sounds like he's angling for a job, like you said, at CNN, kind of Adam Kinzinger-esque or something like that. And obviously he's not there anymore. Liz Cheney is not there anymore. We'll get to those two and that process in just a minute. You mentioned that Ken Buck had a stance on January 6th that really upset you. And on this show, we have spoken to many January 6ers. We've told their story. We are very close friends with a couple of foundations that are helping J6ers. We've spoken with guys like Derek Evans, Jerry Perna with the Matthew Perna story, et cetera, on this show. What exactly did Ken Buck, because our audience, we spend a lot of time on J6 here. What did Ken Buck do? What was this fight with Marjorie Taylor Greene? What did he do regarding January 6th that kind of got your attention and got you so upset?
Yeah, what it was is that El Paso County, here in the southern part of, it's south of Denver, in the Colorado Springs area, basically wrote a message to voters here in Colorado saying, hey, let's support our J6ers. There was a call of action to really have folks donate to a cause that would help the J6ers. And then that infuriated Ken Buck, which then he wrote a pretty lengthy letter as to why he believes the J6ers, are the insurrectionists, why they are the problem with what's going on, as well as basically saying that, hey, they should be in jail. They should stay in jail. And so, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene picked that up, and then they just feuded back and forth on that issue. And so it's just unfortunate that, really, look, the real insurrection happened on November 3rd. That's the real insurrection. And here's a man who believes that the election was free and fair and there was no cheating. There was nothing wrong with the election. And, and so he supports the liberal, look, here's the man who supports Jack Smith and what Jack Smith's doing. In fact, yesterday said that he believes that Jack Smith should broaden his scope on his investigation with this J6 issue that he's going after.
So Ken Buck clearly doesn't care about due process if he believes that January 6ers are people that should be rotting in jail. And we've made our position clear on this show, and I'm speaking for myself, not for your campaign or anything like that, but that nonviolent January 6 peaceful protesters do not deserve to be rotting in jail. And there are many, many, many of them who are. And that's unfortunate. Not only is it unfortunate, but it's unconstitutional what we're seeing happen. And now you have a guy who is serving in Congress, in our government, saying due process doesn't matter, not just for, Donald Trump and the whole, is he a convicted? He's not. Right now, Donald Trump is not a convicted felon as we stand right now. That might change because of a rigged jury or something in D.C. with one of these cases, but he's not a convicted felon right now. For a member of Congress to be saying that he is, in fact, a convicted felon right now is disgusting. And then you see those statements and sentiments echoed in his comments about January 6th. That's just despicable. That's disgusting. That's despicable. And I certainly commend you for standing up to run against it. Now, I see you're wearing a hat. It says MAGA King. And I got to know what that's all about. So what is that? Is that your is that your brand? Is that your title? Is that a nickname? What is that? What is that you're wearing?
Well, this was a hat that President Trump came out with. It was last year, I believe it was. I just like the title, because I think he is the king of MAGA. And, I'm just look, I just want to be a soldier in his army, in the legislate, working in Congress as a legislator, helping pass and support his legislation. And so, I've kind of taken this on as, so many people are like, I love that hat. You have to stick with that hat. That's your brand. That's what you're doing. But, President Trump really is the MAGA king, and I'm just here to support him and support his policies and really turn this country around where the focus really is back on the American people versus foreign entities or those flown over the southern border.
How does Ken Buck feel about Ukraine, for example? Is he a Ukraine guy? Does he love it? Is that his thing? Is that his bread and butter?
This man loves Ukraine. And see, that was one of the sticking points he had with the who he was going to choose as Speaker of the House, because he wanted to make sure that, one, Jack Smith was not going to be defunded, and two, that money still flowed to Ukraine. I mean, we've given billions and billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, and this man is a staunch supporter of Ukraine.
Yeah, and I always I put up on my socials every morning that today is a great day to end all foreign aid until we have our issues in America, solved first. And we can have allies, and we can have friends, and we can have people that we want to help. But I always say, like, if the Red Cross or a charity that you love, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, whoever it is, knocks on your door, calls you and says, hey, can you support this really great cause, help children? But you have no money. No matter how badly you want to help, you can't help. You don't have the resources to donate. And so I look at Ukraine and I look at all foreign aid, in that lens, through that lens, and say, look, if we had the opportunity to help, we could talk about it. But the fact that, again, in a very conservative district in Colorado, you have a congressman out there, a representative who is not representing the district, it calls to action folks like you. So you mentioned being a soldier in Donald Trump's army to pass his legislation, but you did serve in the United States Armed Forces in the Navy. And so I thank you for your service. What was that like?
I loved it. I went in May of 2001, so pre-September 11th. And obviously when September 11th happened, that really changed the outcome and focus of the military and the military's mission. And so I was stationed on board an aircraft carrier that did 2 deployments to the Persian Gulf. We were there when the war started. A third of all ordnance dropped on Iraq came from my ship, and so that I was on. So, I've been there. I've seen it, at least from the air side of things. And so, I know what it's like to be a part of a organization where, it's important to have people that support the mission that you're on to, to really fulfill a mission that will better America. So, that's just where I'm at with this.
And again, we thank you for your service. We're very supportive of veterans on there, far braver than folks like me. I did not sign the dotted line, but there are many people who do and who stand up for, for our country and what makes it great. There would be no MAGA king. There would be nobody to make America great again if our men and women who, enlisted and joined our military to defend our nation didn't defend it in the first place. So it is because of folks like you, your folks that you met in the military who served alongside you that, we have this nation. And so we're incredibly thankful for that. I want to talk about, the potential table that has been set and the model that is out there to defeat an incumbent rhino like a Ken Buck. You see Adam Kinzinger, he walked away. But Liz Cheney went down, in a ball of fire, in flames, right? Is that the way you see this being with Ken Buck, or do you think he's just going to see the writing on the wall and just walk out of the race? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I think his ego is that he doesn't want to go down in a defeat, so I think he will bow out of this thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, he was a staunch supporter of Liz Cheney. He's been tied to the Cheney family since the Iran-Contra situation under the Reagan administration. So he's been deeply tied into that, supported Liz Cheney, helped her campaign this last election cycle when she lost to her primary opponent. And so, I don't know. As this goes on, as the more momentum I pick up, he may stick around and try to see if he could primary me. But I mean, all indications are out there that he is going to just bow out and walk away. Look, I mean, this is going to be a complete grassroots effort, going door to door. I have people from all over CD4, which encompasses 22 counties here in Colorado. And, they've reached out and said, I want to door knock with you. I want to walk the streets. I want to help set up events in the county. And so, I think this is going to be one of the closely watched races in this congressional cycle. And I look forward to, really working with my constituents here to make sure that their interests are always at the forefront of my mission when I am elected.
Yeah, and it was thrust into prominence. I found out about, and I see on your Twitter bio something a post you made about 6 days ago. Ken Buxton with a shirt, "I stand with Ukraine." I mean, I think that's hysterical.
Yes, yeah.
I wonder if he's ever worn a shirt with an American flag that says "These colors don't run." Probably not. He'd wear the Ukraine shirt first and foremost. Ukraine first, Republican. I just don't understand how these people are still in power, but hopefully because of campaigns like yours, one less will be in power come 2024. Now, you launched a campaign recently, right? Once this whole thing started?
We launched it officially on Monday of last week. So we're going on, 9 days, 10 days now. And so this thing has just propelled nationally at a level I never, ever expected. And just people reaching out, saying, hey, let me help you fundraise, let me help you door knock, let me help you call. I mean, it's just been incredible. I mean, the amount of interviews I've done just like this it's just been incredible, so and then on Sunday I had kind of my official kickoff party where Vernon Jones came out and, really helped kick it off. And I couldn't have a better, it was just amazing. He was an amazing guy, great America First patriot. And it was just really, really nice to have him come out here and really help with this kickoff.
It's been out there for a little over a week. Okay, going into its second week, finishing up its second week. And you've got guys like Vernon Jones coming out to help you. I mean, it just goes to show you, folks like you should be the example. Harriet Hageman, who defeated Liz Cheney last year. 90% of those who voted in favor of impeaching Donald Trump lost their jobs in the 2022 cycle, right? And that should just serve as an example that the people still have the power. Whether you're in Colorado 4 or you're anywhere else, the people still have the power. And I'm thrilled to see you're sitting there, you're upset with the stance he took on January 6th. He goes out there, he messes around during the speaker vote. You go, you know what? I'm Trent Leisy. I'm running for Congress. Trent, let me ask you this. What is the best way right now for people to help you? We are a year away from this election. What is the best way for people to help you right now?
Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a complete grassroots effort. I probably won't outspend Ken Buck or, a Ken Buck protege if they jump in the race. But really, going to my website, www.trentleisy.com, reaching out to me on Twitter @RealTrentLeisy. There's a contact page there so they can submit their contact information to volunteer. But, this is going to take money, and every dollar helps, whether it's $5 or $100. Every dollar is going to help, and it's going to go completely to, walking the streets, door knocking, setting up events around Congressional District 4. So any sort of financial help is appreciated. But if people can't, every volunteer is going to be crucial to winning this race.
And Trent, I have to say, again, we are all, admiring your courage and your eagerness to just jump into the race and go ahead and do it. It seems like your campaign started with a big, big splash. I know you've been doing interviews all over the place. What type of momentum have you physically, like personally experienced? Have you gotten a lot of texts, a lot of phone calls from people within the district? I mean, I would love to vote for you, but I live in Tennessee. Have you gotten a lot of momentum from
Yeah.
District 4 residents out there in Colorado? A lot of encouragement?
Yeah, I have. I mean, the emails that have poured in, the messages on Twitter that have poured in, the phone calls that I get. I mean, I got a lot of family in Eastern Colorado, so I've just have the outpour has just been incredible. People within, that are precinct captains or, tied into their local GOP that have said, hey, we want to start setting up events. We need you out here. We need to get rid of Ken Buck. So, it's been incredible. The outpour that I've received. So it just goes to show that people are fed up. People are just fed up with Ken Buck, and they want somebody who's going to represent them, not a right hating network like CNN or MSNBC.
Well, hopefully this goes well for you, and for anything, any help you need in the campaign, we'd love to have you on, to continue to give us updates on how it's going out there in Colorado for Trent Leisy, Chicago. There we go. I knew I was going to make that mistake once. I apologize. Trent Leisy, I'm leaving that in. Trent Leisy, Colorado's 4th congressional district, a candidate for Congress, Colorado's own MAGA king, running to take down the Rhino Ken Buck. Trent, thank you so much for joining the show. TrentLeisy.com, TrentLeisy.com to donate, to volunteer, to get in touch with the campaign. Trent, thank you so much. Best of luck with the campaign. Don't be a stranger. Hopefully we'll follow up soon.
Thank you very much. I enjoy being on and look forward to being on again.